Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday, where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie, and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and the products that I'm showing you today are from Stampin' Up. However, the things that I pulled today for our Halloween card are actually some retired products. So the stamp set was out a year ago, which would have been in 2023, called Tricks and Treats. I fell in love with it. Perhaps you did too. And so it's already in your stamping stash. It was available as a stamp set with coordinating dies, this cute little ghost die and the candy corn pieces. Absolutely amazing. So if you have this, it's because you loved it as much as I did, and I wanted to pull it out and use it today. I'm also using some paper that was from a large packet of paper. It may have even been a host reward choice. It was called Celebrate Everything. And so I picked this cute patterned paper from there. All right, we're also using some dies from Stylish Shapes. And what I'm going to do is show you how easy and fast it is to put this card together. And then in the second half of this video, I am going to spend some technical time with you talking about some certain type of stamping. So you might want to stick with me for that. All right, I started with a crushed curry piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored at 4.25 inches. And I am going to, first I'm going to drop a block onto the floor. I'm going to take my bone folder and make a nice crisp crease. All right, then I have that paper that I mentioned from Celebrate Everything. I have this cut down. If you use Julie's layering templates, this is a size number 2, and the measurement of it is 4 inches by 5.25. I wanted a nice big piece to go on the card front because this is really the main piece of the card, is that adorable paper with the ghosts and the jack-o'-lanterns. So I'm going to glue that onto the front. I like the difference of the colors that I'm using today, and they are represented because of the paper that I chose, and it's the black and the white and the crushed curry. Now, typically for Halloween, I think of the traditional black and orange, often like a bright neon green and or purple can be in those traditional colors. But I really like the difference of this, and it's kind of funny that all of this came together at the same time, because for my October nails, I decided not to do orange or bright green, and I went with all black, just with this gold nail on my ring fingers. So my nails happen to go with today's card. All right, I have a square of crushed curry, and this was cut with the Stylish Shapes dies, the square. This is going to go here on the front of the card, kind of in a diamond shape instead of square like that. And then this little house, this is the haunted house from that stamp set, is going to go on here. This is the part that I want to talk to you later about when we're talking about stamping techniques. But what I did was I just stamped it in black ink and die cut it, and I'm going to put it on the card. We'll talk about how I did that in just a few minutes. All right, so let's put the haunted house onto the crushed curry square that we have in a diamond shape. All right, and that can go ahead and get glued on. Oh, I want to do one fun thing with that. So we're not going to glue it on. We're going to hold on to that. Now, I have a scrap of white cardstock here and a scrap of crushed curry. I'm going to reach for the double oval punch, which also retired. This was really painful when they retired this, because this is a fantastic punch. The fact that it has the scalloped oval, slightly larger than the plain oval, is amazing. And I hope, like anything, that you added this to your punch collection when it was available. If you don't have it, you can grab either your own oval punches or perhaps you have some dies in oval shapes, and that'll work too. But I'm telling you, this is a fantastic punch, and I was very sad to see it retire. All right, so I'm going to get a crushed curry scalloped oval from that scrap. And then I'm going to take a white scrap and slide it in this way and punch my oval. I hope I don't end up wishing that I had stamped on that first. I do typically like to stamp first and then punch, but I was kind of already in motion. All right, I'm going to use the stamp that says Eek. And do I not have it out yet? Here it is. Okay, here is the Eek stamp. And I'm going to stamp it once on my oval. And I'm going to leave a little space to the side to add a ghost. So let's get Eek on there. And then I'm going to use that little ghost. And I remember last year when I would stamp the ghost, I would use gray. So I'm going to reach for smoky slate here. I think I'll test it on a scrap piece and see if I want it full strength in the smoky slate or if I want it stamped off and want the second one. See, that's really what I want. So it's almost invisible. That's kind of the look I'm going for. So I'm going to ink my ghost stamp with smoky slate, stamp it off, and then onto my little oval. And this is the part that's going to go on the card. Like that. Okay, I love it. Okay, we might not be done with that. Let's keep that handy. Let's attach this stamped oval to my crushed curry scalloped oval. Okay, cute. All right, now this piece is going to go here, maybe even here on the card. I have another piece of that designer series paper. This piece is 1 inch by, the length doesn't matter too much. This piece is 6.5 inches. As long as it is longer than your inside panel, and this is a Julie's layering template number 2. So 4 inches by 5 1/4. As long as this piece is longer than this, it's going to be fine, because I always like to glue my strip of paper like this extra long and then trim the ends, which is exactly what we're going to do. I think it's easier to do that than to have it exactly the length of the paper, which sometimes doesn't end up being exact. And then it doesn't look right when it's on there, because you might have a little bit of the white showing. All right, I'm going to grab, here it is, I'm going to grab my silicone mat to place underneath here in case any extra glue goes down, because my strip is longer than my white piece. So now any of that extra glue that might be on the back of this strip of paper is going to hit my silicone mat instead of my stamping surface. And the glue won't stick to the silicone mat, so that makes it easy for us to pick that up, and it keeps my surface clean. All right, some scissors to trim those off. And now you can see that my strip of paper is exact with the edge of my card. There's no error at all. It wasn't slightly too short, slightly too long. It's just perfect. All right, I thought about putting a couple of ghosts on the inside. I don't know if I really need to, because this strip of paper is there. So I think what I'll do is add the words, and then we'll decide. You can help me decide. All right, well, let's put trick or treat on the inside. And I haven't used this stamp since last year, so I am also going to give it a practice run just to remind myself how it stamps, how it looks, how's my inking going, and it looks good. So let's put this on the inside here. Did you see that? It happens, especially when you're hurrying and filming. All right, then we've got trick or treat there. And this is going to go on the inside. Now I have a decision to make because I do have that. Let's try one thing. This is a little bonus moment. Often I will reach for a sand eraser if there's a slight smudge. I have a link for this below the video in my Amazon links. A sand eraser will sometimes get rid of or at least lessen a small inky mistake. Okay, you can see that that took up some of it. Let's go this way. The sand eraser is rough, and so not only is it erasing, but it kind of scrubs at the surface of the paper, and it actually can sort of camouflage a little ink boo-boo. All right, so I've got that there, and then at that point I would decide to either add a couple of ghosts, and I could cover that, or I might just take a black pen, because now that little smudge is tiny, and I might just put little sets of 3 dots that just serve as camouflage. So now it looks like they meant to be there. All right, let's glue that to the inside of the card. That was still not the technique that I was talking about that we're going to get to in just a moment. That was just fixing a mistake on the fly. Okay, this is going to be on the inside of the card. I am still loving the black and the crushed curry for Halloween. All right, our card is just about finished. Looks super cute. Inside is done. Let's finish the front. So what I want to do is take some baker's twine. Now this is a very, very old twine, retired long time ago. It happens to be black and orange, and I still have a little bit of it left, and that's what I want to use for this card. Now, if you don't have a black and orange twine, you could either use just black or just white, or you could take your white twine and using a sponge dauber, hold it down on an orange ink pad and pull that twine through, dyeing your white twine an orange color. So you have lots of options, but I'm going to use this dual colored twine. All right, it's going to go behind here in just kind of a little loopy fashion. So in order to do that, I will stick a couple of dimensionals onto the back of my square. And by doing that first, that's going to give me something to anchor my twine to. So I'm going to use 5 because I need several points of contact to anchor the twine. And it's a pretty big square. Okay, so those are on there. Let's remove the backings, and then we can arrange our twine, and we want it to really kind of look unarranged, just a little bit haphazard and kind of loopy. All right, this is the top, and so I'm going to have it. The nice thing about this method that I'm showing you right now is also that if you don't like it, you can just peel it off and try again. All right, so I've got a loop that's going to be sticking off the top there. A loop that's going to come down this way and maybe curve back on itself. It's wanting to twist, so. And then head this way before looping again, maybe a smaller loop. Let's take a look and see how it's going so far when we look at the front. Okay. All right, I think I'll do just one more smaller loop over here. Again, I don't want it to start looking too precise. I don't want it to look measured. I want it to look kind of messy. Like it wasn't really thought of all that much upon putting it on there. Okay, that's going to be great, except that I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter. So I'm able to just pull the twine up, reposition it, and stick it down. Kind of like that. All right, let me take a peek now. Yep, we're going to go with that. And lastly is I do want a tail sticking out. I want a tail coming out down here at the bottom. So I like the look of that. So it's not all loops. Yeah, like that. So we're going to flip it back over. I'm going to press those a teeny bit into the dimensionals and turn it over. There we go. Let's put that into place. Now, by pressing all of those dimensionals down, I'm not only securing it to the card, but I've sandwiched in all of that twine as well. See, I've just got a couple little loops sticking out. And now let's add our eek. I think I'll put it on dimensionals 2 so that it's the same height as that as it pops up off the card. All right, so we've got our little word oval here. All right, I was torn between putting it actually in contact with the other crushed curry piece or leaving a space, and I think it looks best to leave a little space. So that is where it's gonna go. And there we have our Halloween card that is a little less traditional than black and orange or black and purple and green. I think that it's fun to do something a little bit different, but it's definitely a Halloween card. So that is our project for today. Now let's talk a little bit about technique if you want to stick around for a few minutes. So when I'm using a very bold stamp, a very bold image like the haunted house, it can be tricky to get a good stamped image nice and solid and black. And so that is where a tool can come in handy. All right, I'm gonna, first of all, we're just gonna stamp with the haunted house stamp mounted on a block. And see if we can give you a good example of what I'm talking about. This has ink on it, and that's why I'm trying to not touch it very much. Okay, there's our mounted stamp. Make sure I don't have black ink on my fingers. All right, let's grab a piece of cardstock. And we're going to stamp this right from the ink pad onto the cardstock. Again, it's a very solid image. It's quite large and it's not an outline. So it's not the outline of a house, it's the whole house image. So if I was going to ink this up in black and I got really lucky, I would get one really nice image and be done with it. Not too bad, I have to say. And I do have a newly re-inked memento pad. However, sometimes I'm gonna see if I can get a less than perfect image. How great that I got like a really good one on the first try, right? Sometimes when you are trying to get a nice solid black image, and you can see right there, it's not perfect. It's still got some little white showing through there. And so you stamp your image and you're hoping for the best and it ends up like that. And then you're frustrated, and so you try a time or two to try to get the right image. This, my friends, is the perfect time to use a stamp positioning tool. Now, let me clean this stamp off, and we're going to talk about a stamp positioning tool. I don't use it every day. I probably don't even use it once a week, but when I need it, nothing compares. So at Stampin' Up, for a limited time, we offered the Stamparatus. The Stamparatus, in my estimation, was the best stamping tool available at the time. And part of what made it so is the 2 different plates that also are repositionable. So you had 2 repositionable plates, the foam mat that goes inside it if you need it. Very, very good tool. Stampin' Up no longer is making this available. So if you did not get a Stamparatus when they were available and you're looking for a stamp positioning tool, then I would also recommend the Misty. The Misty has thousands and thousands of great reviews, and so you're welcome to look that up if you want to. It's MISTI. But let me show you what a stamp positioning tool does. So we'll go back to our cardstock and back to that haunted house image. The nice thing about a stamp positioning tool is you can actually re-stamp an image exactly in the same place that you stamped it the first time. So in the instance of this image, if I could have managed to stamp that right on top again, precisely on top, then I could have gotten some more black ink on those spaces. But the chances of doing that are like 0. You're just not going to get it lined up perfectly. So with a stamp positioning tool, you can. So I'm going to put my cardstock in here. I've got several super strong magnets that I use to hold my cardstock. You can also just use your Post-it or your artist tape to hold it down into place. That works as well. Sometimes the magnets actually don't hold the cardstock in place. All right, so I've got that in place. We'll see if that holds. Now I'm going to take the stamp off of my block because we don't need a block when you're using a stamp positioning tool. You go ahead and place your stamp anywhere on the cardstock where you want the image to end up being. So mine might be right there. And then you close the acrylic plate or lid. Pressing down, this will cause the stamp to cling or to grab onto it. I can tell that my cardstock is wanting to wiggle. I might have been better off actually taping this. We'll give it one more chance. All right, so you take your stamp then, and you actually are going to ink it. Let's see how our camera view is here. You're actually going to ink it while it's sitting here on the positioning tool. So I'm going to ink my stamp up, and I'm going to leave on purpose a little blank space there, as if I didn't mean to, but sometimes that happens. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my stamp, pressing down, and then lift it up, and you can see that, it's not inked all the way. So at this point, you can take your ink, re-ink your stamp, and then we're going to be able to stamp it down in exactly the same spot. That looks really inky. Like I said, I have a very freshly inked ink pad. All right, this is going to go right back down into the same spot. And I have saved my image. It is perfectly stamped in place twice in the exact same spot, and given me a solid black or whatever color image. So there are many, many reasons to use a stamp positioning tool, but this is one huge one. When you have an image like this that might not come out very good the first time, and it needs to be stamped 2 or even 3 times in order to get the final image the way that you want it to look. So that is my extra technique tip of the day. And if you have any questions about a stamp positioning tool or other things that you can do with a MISTI or another version of a stamp positioning tool, just let me know. I'm happy to answer your questions. So that's it for today. Let's bring our card back in, and I will go ahead and say goodbye until next time, and happy stamping.